Today I'm doing something a little different. This here is a lightsaber. It started out life as a Master Replica's Yoda lightsaber. I have since modified it to have a more durable blade. The original one, do that a couple of times and you'd likely wind up with a portion of the blade not lit. Today I'm going to be teaching you to make one vaguely similar to this. It's pretty simple. A basic one will probably cost you about 60 quid. If you are more advanced with sound effects, multicolour blade, or any sort of advanced effects with it, or if you're after an ornate hilt rather than a basic one, it could cost you a lot more than that. So, first things first, if you want one, you can buy an off-the-shelf lightsaber from Hasbro, for example. They sell the Force FX line, which are very good looking sabers with decent sound effects. They are sort of £100 to £300. You can get them pre-built for you from a variety of websites. Ultra Sabers, Saberforge and JQ Sabers are free that I know of off the top of my head. There are plenty of other sources though. Those can cost you anywhere between sort of 100 and a couple of thousand. You can get someone to custom make one for you. That's really, really expensive. You're talking several thousand. Or you can build your own. Now, when it comes to building your own, all you really need is a tube of some kind, metal tube to hold all the parts, a polycarbonate tube for the blade, some cellophane to go inside the tube to help diffuse the light, and an end cap. Blade you can probably do for about £15. The tube can be literally anything, provided it's thick enough for the polycarbonate tube to slot in. For the LED, you really want a 20mm star LED. You can get those for about 2 quid off eBay. For wiring, you can just use really basic wiring. So all you really need is a soldering iron, a switch and a battery pack. Well, and some wire of course to link the LED to the switch and the batteries. Yeah, all told, probably about £60 to make your own. If you've got access to a machine shop, you can have them make whatever shape you want, or you can visit. Best site's probably the custom saber shop, but there's also Ultra Sabers, Saberforge, and JQ all sell either complete hilts or parts to make a complete hilt. Saberforge actually look like the aesthetically the best ones. Custom Saber Shop allows you to, well, literally pick parts. They've got sort of 20 different emitters, 20 different hilts, a dozen or so different chokes, 30 odd different pommels, and you can just mix and match the parts to make whatever you want. But yeah, I'm going to be putting together one mostly using parts I got from the Custom Saber Shop a while back. And that'll be this video. Okay, so to solder in the LED, basically, I'll just make the lightsaber. All you really need is a hilt, which is these parts, a bulb, which is this. This is a 4 LED red, green, blue, white bulb. I've soldered each channel separately, so you can choose which you want. Mark them up RGB and W for the relevant colours. So next thing we need is a power pack. So I'm going to do the power pack for AAA battery power pack. Solder it up. I'll want heat shrink tubing to seal everything, which I haven't got to hand, so I'll just go and grab that. You probably could get away with insulating tape, but heat shrink is infinitely better. So what I'm going to do, this costs something like £2 out of a local shop for a batch of various different sizes of heat shrink. So this is the smallest size, fine for sticking together two very fine wires. So what I'm going to do is slide one onto each of the wires, slide it as far away from where I'm doing the soldering work as possible, because as the name suggests, this stuff shrinks when it gets hot, and if it shrinks when you don't want it to, it can be a real pain to move into position. Okay, so as you can probably see, I've stripped back the wires to give a bit of insulation. Strip back the insulation to give me a bit more purchase. I'm now going to wrap them together. Now, you don't want to be doing this direct onto wood or anything like that, so I'm going to use part of the hilt as a stand, and then apply heat to the wire and solder to the wire. That is now soldered. So now I'll do the same with the other side. And this is sticking up in the air all on its own, no prompting, so I don't really need a stand. Now this is also soldered. By now this bit's dry to cool to the touch, so I can afford to fold the wire back and then slide over the heat shrink. Now, as the name suggests, it shrinks when heat's applied. So I'm using the back of the iron. I'm not using the tip because I don't want to get this plastic all over the tip. There are proper tools for doing this, but the back of a soldering iron works fine. And you just want to shrink it down until it's tight. So, there you are, wire's totally covered. This is shrunk down pretty well, so yeah, that's protected. So now I'll do the same with the black wires. Now, I will stress, there are definitely better ways to do this, but that works. I'm now going to get some AAA batteries, we can plug it in and check that the LEDs work. Okay, so battery pack, batteries. So now, the LED, as I said, is a 4-colour job. This is white, and it's not working. That's not a good sign. So I had a minor problem first time I tried soldering this up. I cut the wires back a bit and redid it. So we now have a working battery pack and a working full colour LED. So now I'm going to solder up the switch. So I want a male and a female of this type of connector. I stripped some insulation off a bunch already. So I want the heat shrink. So what I'm going to do, the negative or black, I'm going to solder them together. Then the positive or red, I'm going to solder through the switch. So here's the switch. I want one red going into each terminal. First off, I'm going to what's referred to as tin for terminal. Basically that just means apply a bit of solder. Solder is, traditionally it was a tin lead compound. These days, because lead's been pretty much banned for this sort of thing, they use other elements. I'm also going to tin the wires. Okay, this is just applying a little bit of solder, so it's a bit less awkward when I come to solder it on to the switch. Now, you could just do everything here with a single length of wire. The reason I use quick disconnect connectors is to allow me to switch the LED module, the switch, etc. out if something goes wrong. In other words, if I go out for a lightsaber duel, I'll have a spare LED, spare switch, spare power pack, etc. with me, so I can literally just then and there swap them out. Okay, so I'm now going to shrink down the heat shrink on the black wire. The reason I'm suggesting heat shrink rather than insulating tape is heat shrink is never going to come off, insulating tape can. So switch looks like it's all wired up. So now I can connect the switch through the LED. And there we have it, switch is working. Okay, so next stage is to assemble everything in the hilt. By far the most awkward part is the switch, but just because it's most awkward doesn't mean it's difficult. The awkward part is sliding the lock ring for the switch on inside this tube. So that's there. Now I assemble the hilt. The LED module slides down this hole here, and in this particular piece the neck section here is perfect for the LED. It's almost the exact correct size, meaning the heatsink is pretty much touching the neck section, so the whole lightsaber body becomes one big heatsink. I don't care what colour it is for the moment. I'm just connecting everything up, just for a demonstration. Then afterwards, I'll set this up with at least 2, possibly 3 colours running simultaneously, which will give a beautiful, unusual colour effect. Now for the tail end of the hilt. I'll better slide the battery pack, better connect the battery pack up first, because I don't think this wire is quite long enough. I'm really glad I cut the wires off a bit shorter. If this was much longer, it'd be awkward. So here's my assembled hilt. Next up, the tube. Oh, sorry, the blade. So, hilt, blade. This is a simple polycarbonate tube, and if I slide it onto the hilt, lights up, but not very well. So the question is how to get it to light up a bit better. It's pretty simple. You need an end cap to reflect a bit of a light back, and you need something to diffuse the light. So first things first, this tube is filthy. When I lit it up there was dust all over the place. So first thing I need to do is force something through to get all the dust out. Okay, so I've threaded a USB cable through. This is a dishcloth. So I'm just going to wrap the dishcloth around the end of the USB cable. Then I can pull it through. And it'll clean out the inside of the tube pretty effectively. Yeah, that's looking much better. Okay. So yeah. Now that I've got the tube set up, I need the cellophane for the light diffuser. Unfortunately, the cellophane's not quite long enough to do the tube widthwise, so I'm going to have to go lengthwise. Okay, that's a bit longer than I want, but that's absolutely fine. So now I wrap this up into a nice tight reel. It looks like I'm going to have to use the tube as a form. Okay, so here it is, properly diffused. Problem is, as you can see, it's really bright at this end, but gets quite dim at this end. This can be fixed by an end cap. Sorry, these are really cheap end caps which cost next to nothing. So there you have it, the completed blade. I can easily switch over the single lead to change the LED colour, but if I want to make it so if there's multiple colours, to a blended colour, so we've got a colour other than red, green, blue or white, what I need to do is play around with resistors and link up multiple channels to the switch. Okay, so I've created this It has 3 female ends for 3 different colours of the LED on one end and the connector to connect to the battery pack on the other. So what I'm going to do is unscrew this here, disconnect the battery pack, hook up this end into here. Now I can create multiple colour combinations. So here's blue on its own, blue and white, white on its own. You can see that's a completely different colour to the blue-white. And if I throw in green as well, just for the sake of it, you've got a nice turquoise colour. I quite like this. It's a off-white, but yeah, it's definitely off-white with some green and blue thrown in. So that's the colour I'm going to stick with for now. So I just now bundle everything all up into the hilt. This is the main reason I went for such a long hilt, otherwise I'd have gone for quite a bit shorter. Okay, so there's my finished saber. Pretty easy to make. The tube is held in by a little grub screw here, which I'm now going to tighten up, assuming I can find the Allen's key. Could have sworn I had it there. Ah, there it is. So that little grub screw did a pretty good job of tightening it together. As you can see, it's now not coming out. Lights up nicely. Twists fairly nicely if held by this little choke point here. You can use a one-handed or two-handed. Balance point's not bad. Right about there, which is perfect. I've often had to cut the blades down a bit to get them the right position, but yeah, that's how you make a lightsaber. In the description are links to most of the parts you're going to need. Any questions, please ask in the comments. I almost forgot to mention lens. That's without a lens. That's with a lens. Now, it doesn't look that much, but it is a noticeable increase in brightness. So yeah, a lens is only going to cost you a couple of quid. Oh, sorry, no, not even that. Probably 50 pence or so. Again, available from Custom Saber Shop.